Hey guys, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. Today I'm going to be doing my first motherboard review. Can you believe it? I've never done one yet. So today will be my first one, and we're going to be checking out the Gigabyte Aorus AX370 Gaming K7 motherboard. So let's jump into it then with the key features. So it supports all AM4 Ryzen CPUs, your Ryzen 7s, Ryzen 5s. Obviously it's an X370, so it will support all of them. Now, it also supports dual-channel DDR4 memory up to 64 gigabytes of it at 3600 MHz in its extreme OC mode, so that's really solid. Being an X370, it supports two-way crossfire or SLI on PCIe 3.0 times 8 when 2 slots are being used, so it'll drop down from times 16 if you're just using your single GPU. Has M.2 PCIe Generation 3 x 4 interface for your super fast M.2 SSDs. Of course, being 2017, it's got to have the RGB Fusion LED lighting, which looks really nice. It's very solid, but it's got quite interesting placement, I'll put it that way. Something more important than the RGB lighting though is the two Realtek ALC 1220 audio codecs for the front and rear audio jacks. That's really good, and it also has high-end Japanese audio capacitors, and that'll help make your audio quality even better. So let's talk about the layout of this motherboard then. We'll work from top to bottom. We'll take a tour of this motherboard, so to speak. I guess you'd call us board tourists. So starting at the top, we have the 8-pin CPU power like normal, a CPU fan and CPU optional headers like normal up the top there. Now it's coming with a 6+4 phase digital power with an IR digital PWM controller, so that's good to see. The SoC and VCore VRM heat sinks work very well. They're quite large, as you can see, and they do a good job. It does have the same VRM as the Gaming K5, which is something to keep in mind, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. It's coming with a 24-pin motherboard connector on the side like normal, and a 4-pin fan connectors, 2 more of them there, so you get 8 in total, including the CPU one, so that's plenty for most people out there. Now it's also coming with 2 USB 3.0 hubs for some reason, I guess making it more future-proof, I suppose, and 2 SATA Express connectors, which again, yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's for future-proofing. If so, yeah, I guess that's a good idea. But as for right now, they're probably not going to be that useful. Now it's also coming with 8 SATA 6 gigabytes a second connectors, which is plenty. A U.2 onboard NVMe PCIe Gen 3 x 4 connector. Keep in mind though, if you use that, it will disable the M.2, so you won't be able to use both at the same time. And it has a debug readout on the bottom with all the rest of the standard connectors on the bottom there. That's always good to see. Just makes diagnosing errors a million times easier than if you don't have it. So let's move around to the back then and talk about the back panel I/O. So it's coming with 3 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type A ports. Those are the red ones you see there. It's coming with 6 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports and 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type C port. Now it's also coming with killer E2500 Ethernet port and an Intel Gigabit LAN port, and then you just get all the standard carry-on there, all your audio connectors, HDMI, PS2, and all of that fun stuff. Let's move over to the BIOS then. So it comes with a dual BIOS. That's always good. If you run into trouble, you can just switch over to the other one. A lot of people like having 2 BIOSes, and that's good that they've included it here. The BIOS itself is very easy to use, very straightforward, and definitely not overly complicated like some of them are. It's going with their Smart Fan 5, which is cool. It basically lets you decide what your fans are going to do and which temperatures for them to go off. So that's a nice addition there. It has their Turbo B clock, and this allows you to change the BCLK for even better overclocking. Now, most people probably won't be using that, but for the enthusiasts that will be wanting to play with it, that's good to see, and that's the main difference it has from the Gaming K5. The current BIOS is the F4E BIOS, and updating it's very straightforward with a USB flash drive. Just plug it in and off you go like normal with their flashing software. So as far as overclocking goes, I had the Ryzen 7 1700 and it managed 4 GHz at 1.4 volts, no worries at all. With the memory, I had a 3000 megahertz 16 gigabyte kit that managed a 2933 megahertz without any issues. I just enabled XMP and off you go. So for overclocking, it's super easy. It was also very stable, and I had no issues with it in regards to overclocking. So it's a very good motherboard for that. Which brings us now to the conclusion, and what do I make of the Gigabyte Aorus AX370 Gaming K7 motherboard? So right now at Playtech, it's selling for, in New Zealand, 399 New Zealand dollars, which is quite a bit of money for an X370 motherboard. It does have very high-end specs and features though, and enough for most enthusiasts to be more than happy with. However, it has one big drawback, and that is it's about $100 more expensive than the Gaming K5. And for that $100, you don't really get much more. From everything I can see, you get to adjust the BCLK, and that's about it. Everything else seems pretty much the same as the Gaming K5, which I tested a while back. So if I were you and I was out in the market buying an X370 motherboard, I would go for the Gaming K5 any day over the Gaming K7, unless you are an extreme overclocker who really needs that additional feature. Otherwise, for the vast majority of you guys, I would just go with the Gaming K5. Now, I thank you all for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like the video. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.